I'm ready.
You have Patrick Findaro here, co-founder and managing partner at Visa Franchise. Excited to have on Joseph Bovino, immigration attorney, also based here in Miami Beach. We've worked on a few cases together. We met not so long ago, but I've been very impressed by how he's handled our mutual clients, getting them their consulate interviews quickly, working through everything related to the E2 visa petition in a very expedited fashion, always available, whether it's um, in the petition putting together or the interview prep. So, Joseph, thanks for joining. And the idea is really targeted to Canadians because we're having an onslaught of Canadians that are looking to move to the United States and later this year, if not next year, and inquiring about the E2 visa. So that's kind of the topic for today's conversation. But thanks again, Joseph, for joining.
Patrick's good to be here. It's always good to see you. I wanted to do one of these for a while. I've been watching your live, whatever these are, these live streams for a while. It's a pleasure to be. I'm here on my birthday, as you know.
I was gonna say, yeah,
It's
honored
important to me.
to have you join us on your birthday. Happy birthday again.
61. Thank you.
Looking good
Hanging in
for
there.
61.
So you're right. It's a great subject. I've had a lot of activity from Canada, and I expect as it gets colder, it's going to happen again. The colder it gets, they start thinking, "Oh, Florida's pretty nice."
And I've seen some repeated themes. Like I hear the weather. I hear lack of opportunities. Like they've kind of hit a ceiling in their career or business. What are some other reasons that you're hearing for Canadians moving down south to the U.S.?
And I'm sure you feel as I do. We know Canada is a wonderful country. The
Yeah.
people I meet from there. This is not a knock on Canada. For those who live there and want to stay there, God bless you. But what I've seen is honestly, what happened was when there was the crackdown around COVID, the mandates and all that, and just the talk about public policy. And when the final straw was when they went into the bank accounts of those who donated to the convoy, the trucker convoy, that is when I saw all of a sudden people were like, "Oh my God,
Enough's enough.
Where do I go?" And we're the closest place. We're like right next door. So, and hopefully that won't happen again. Hopefully that's, sanity will prevail. But that's what happened with me. And because my Spanish isn't perfect, I'm still working on that. It's easier for me to work with clients who speak English. And certainly in Canada, that's not an issue.
So what are some of the eligibility requirements for Canadians that want to start a business, buy a business, and move here on the E2 visa over the next few months?
Yeah. The main thing is, look, the E2 visa, as you know, Patrick, it's a wonderful visa for entrepreneurs and investors who want to come down here, live, work, run a business. And really all you need is the motivation and enough money to invest in your business, whatever it is, if it could be a startup or a franchise or whatever, and direct and grow it over a period of time. So really that's it. I mean, it's I guess, well, it have to be a treaty country, but we're talking about Canada.
Exactly.
So all Canadians are eligible for this. So what happens is you really have to have enough capital to invest. This visa isn't for everyone. It's for people who have enough to invest. You don't need $1 million like an EB-5 visa. This is I think, a very affordable visa for anyone who really wants to pursue their American dream here, including having their own business.
Joseph, it seems like the camera is moving up and down a bit. If you don't mind, maybe just don't touch the desk. I don't know, might be shaking it.
Yes, my desk is wobbly. I apologize.
But no, all good. And then, so I mean, relatively small amount of capital. We've seen cases approved 80K, 100K, even less than that. What are some ways, if someone's earlier in their career and they don't have 100K, can they get a loan from a family member, donation? What are some creative ways to finance that substantial investment, which is a
the key is you can do those things. The key is that the money has to be yours. If you're the E2 applicant, this is very personal to the applicant. They're going to the U.S. Embassy consulate's going to want to see that the money's yours from a legal source. And so what does that mean? It can't, if it's going to come from somebody else, let's say it's a bank or your parents, somebody like that, it has to be transferred over. It has to come to you personally. With respect to the bank, the loan, if you get one, can't be secured by the assets of your business. So that's it. So you have to be on the hook personally. With respect to a gift from your parents, those are fine. I've had many clients do that. A gift from somebody, sure, as long as it's actually a gift, it's in writing and it says, here, this is your money. You can do with it as you please. So yeah, the money can come from many sources. It just can't be secured by the business itself. What else? Yeah. So I mean, if a client has it all ready to go, it's in an account, a personal account, and they're ready to make those investments, great. If not, they can look for other sources. And I would say, and I think you agree with this, well, I guess it depends on the type of investment, but it's often a good idea to have it in a U.S. Business bank account. Maybe with franchises, it's not as necessary, but with a lot of my clients that start up a business here, an E2 enterprise here, they first get a bank, they first start the business, establish it in Florida, whatever. Could be another state, but let's say Florida. Then they get their tax ID number. Then they get a business bank account, and then they send the money, transfer the money from their Canadian personal account to their business bank account, and then they make their E2 investments from there. Because this is for those of you who don't know, this really is an investor visa, meaning you don't just sign up you don't just send in your application on day one. It doesn't go like that. You have to make your investment first, spend the money. And it's nice if it comes from your U.S. business, the one that you're investing from. I guess franchises, we can talk about whether it's necessary with a franchise or they just go direct. But either way, they got to spend the money and be ready to either have that business open or almost open. Typically, it's better to have it open. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but this is what people don't understand. You don't just apply. It's a process.
Yeah, it's much more credible if the business is already open and you have like an employee and you're saying, hey, I have this business in the US, I've invested capital. I need to be there. Like legally, I need this status. I can't be going back and forth with the visa waiver, or if they're not Canadian with, some other visa category.
Yeah, what you just pointed to is really a question of risk. It's like, hey, your money has to be at risk. Your investment has to be at risk. So you're saying, hey, I started this business. I invested in this. I have an employee. They need me. So that's a risk. That's a little scary for some people because you're putting that money out there. Maybe you're hiring somebody and you're opening your business and you're not there yet with an investor visa. You're not able to work for it directly. You can come visit on a B1, B2. A lot of Canadians come down. They check out things, right? They look for where they want to set up their business. They talk with people they might want to hire, all that, but they can't actually physically be in the U.S. working for money.
Managing people.
Right. There's a risk. And so, but it's manageable. I mean, you're right next door if you're a Canadian. Things don't happen that fast. You can set up your business, get somebody going, and then all the paperwork's coming along, and then you apply, and the things move pretty quickly and efficiently, I'd say, in Canada compared to other places.
What are some ways to spend the money that someone might not think of initially in terms of getting to that substantial investment threshold?
You mean business expenses?
Exactly. Like vehicle, what counts, what doesn't count?
Yeah. I would say that in my experience, I guess the most important thing is to know what doesn't count. Because so many things do. It's the thing that what counts is what you're going to need to get that business open. Right. And you mentioned vehicles. Well, some businesses require a vehicle. I have a client in logistics business. They need somebody going back and forth from here to there, even the airport, and they put the logo on it. I recommend it if they can to put the logo right on the side. And then it's almost a done deal. It's usually wise to have a commercial, a lease. The rules don't absolutely require it because more and more businesses are working from home. But in my experience, the consular officials like to see a lease where it says commercial in front of it, or at least it doesn't say residential.
Yeah. And with
It's a
that
red
lease,
flag.
you have a rent deposit first last month rent. So that starts going towards the investment amount.
Yes. Yes. And a lot of my clients pay the whole year in advance. And there you go. There's a big chunk toward the, let's say, whatever the substantial investment is. We can talk about what that should be. But if they do that in advance, there's a big chunk, the equipment. I recommend, if at all possible, to hire at least one American employee, or at least someone with work authorization, to be there on site, get things going, open up computers, other things that are really necessary for the business, if it's a certain software or whatever. The things that, in my experience, are generally don't count, or at least aren't worth including, unless it's absolutely necessary and you have to try. But I think travel expenses tend to be frowned upon, because they view them as more personal than business. Or they
Yeah.
don't want to sort it out. Uh, and I think
Yeah.
that these clients who have these travel expenses going back and forth, hotel, taxi, when it's time to do your taxes, if your accountant says that they're business expenses, fine. But for this purpose, it just, they wonder, are they hanging out at the, Mar-a-Lago and claiming it as an E2 business
And
expense?
you're bringing your
Really?
whole family too,
Bringing the
like
whole,
the rent,
exactly, which often happens. And so then they go, no, we're not going to. And then you're like, then once you get them to say no one time, it's easier to say no the second time. I would rather have them say yes, 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 yes. And the other thing, I don't know how other attorneys are with you on this, because I know you've talked to many, but I don't like to include E2 visa legal fees in the petition.
Yeah. I would say generally not the immigration fees, but like your work also doing the corporate law,
Yes,
which
that counts.
not many
Uh,
attorneys do. Like that's totally necessary. Like an American setting up a business, that's an expense that they're gonna
that's my
have to
point.
bear.
Setting up your business. Also, I do trademarks, and a lot of these clients, they come in, they do trademark. Certainly counts, intellectual property, and that can add significantly to the list of expenses.
And how important's the business plan in this whole process?
I think it's really super important. These applications come with a business plan. There are, as you know, a couple outstanding companies that are based right here in Miami Beach. So
Yeah,
we have it's been one of the great things about ending up in Miami Beach. I've been all around, but is you're here. I think you do a phenomenal job.
appreciate that.
And really, it's a great company. For those of you who don't know Visa Franchise, it's a great company. I trust them, Patrick in particular. But there are a couple excellent companies, and yeah, that you have to have with the E2 visa application. They almost always require it, but some sort of a business plan. It doesn't have to be, because a lot of us don't like the words business plan. It's like, oh, I need to think. No, but it's not like that. These companies find out what you want to do, and usually it's short. It's like maybe 20 pages, but it's right on target. Here's what the E2 applicant is going to do. Here's the 5-year projections. Here's what they've spent. And if you have a good one that's easy to read, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, because in your experience, the Canadian E2 visa investor, how long is the interview? Like they don't have much time to kind of prove their case of why they should get an E2 visa.
No, I think that the consular official has more or less made up their mind by the time you walk in for your interview.
Sure.
So if you have a good team, good lawyer, if you've got a franchise or a vetted business, you got Patrick's company helping you, you have a solid business plan, and you have told your story well, so that when a consular official starts reading about all this, they get it. Oh, he's doing this. He's invested that. Looks like a good guy. This looks solid. Looks like he's going to come in the United States and do this, and this is going to benefit everyone. Oh, he's hired somebody. It should be over at that point. Everything else is just, filling the documentation to back it up, and he's already made up his decision. I think they decide relatively quickly. And so by the time you walk into the interview, usually you should expect some questions about your business. You obviously have to know what you put in the application, what you're saying in your business plan. But it shouldn't be a problem to answer questions about your business. So does that answer your question? I think these embassy interviews, I mean, people have to be ready, be confident and all that. I think I always talk to my clients about their demeanor, look the person in the eye, be friendly, know what you're talking about, be prepared, because preparation can lead directly to confidence.
And
But
how do you
ultimately,
get prepared? How does one prepare for this?
I would say they need to read through what's been presented to the person they're going to be speaking with. Be ready to talk about it, and have the most important documents with them and accessible. Because you know how it is when someone asks you for something, you've got it with you, but you don't know exactly where it is in your in your briefcase or your file folder, and you're fumbling around. It can make you nervous. You need to have it, boom, ready to pull stuff out if asked.
We've had that with a client where he brought the franchise disclosure document, which can be like 200 plus pages. And he invested kind of not so much capital, 70K, including the car, and had another 30K of working capital. And they're like, how are you going to make money? Like, if this is such a good investment, why aren't more people doing it? Is
That's
what
a
he
good point.
said. And he said, hey, here's the item 20. There are a lot of people doing this. There are hundreds of franchisees. And then he went one item before that, a few pages behind, item 19. And this is their average sales. This is a federally regulated document by the FTC. And this has been reported on by hundreds of franchisees, 300 plus franchisees. This is how many there are, and this is how much money they make. So for the consulate officer, it was more credible than someone saying, I'm just going to start this property management business just with this amount of money, and by year 5, I should make 800K at a 30% or 35% profit margin.
That's a good point. That's a great story, and he invested about 70,000.
70,000, yeah. Franchise fee, rent deposit, vehicle, and I think he spent some money on Google Ads, and then another 30K just on the working and as working capital not spent.
The great thing there was there was a franchise involved.
It was a franchise, exactly.
Now we haven't talked too much about that, but in my experience, if it is a franchise investment, I think your chances are greater of being approved, because a lot of things are sort of done for you. You don't have with a startup business, you can make a mistake in many places along the way. With this franchise, especially if the franchise has a track record, it really, I think, answers a lot of questions. But let's say it was a startup and they only have 70,000 invested. Well, for me, that means I think we have a weakness there. So we have to be prepared and look at really carefully at what's been spent and what it's been spent on. Where is the consular official maybe likely to chip away? If they can chip off 20,000, they say, no, this doesn't count. Then you're down to 50.
Yeah, that's too low.
So you need to be ready to answer. If you have a weakness, you need to be ready for those questions, I think, very ready. But also also be open to the fact that they may never ask about it. They may ask about something completely different. So you need to really be comfortable with the investment you made and what you're doing. And I think believe in it, because it'll show.
And then I guess on the item 7 of the franchise agreement, the franchise disclosure agreement has a range of what the investment amount should be. And this isn't for foreign nationals. This is for Americans opening up the business. So that's the amount of money it takes to get the business up and going, including the line item for working capital. So that definitely adds credibility when someone's having an interview with the consular officer.
Yeah, I think that the two best businesses in my experience for E2 visa purposes are these. Number one, if they've done something, the entrepreneur investor has done something very successfully abroad, to do the same thing here. Yeah. They're bringing all their experience to a bigger market.
Maybe they've already sold to some Americans, and this is
exactly.
They need to be here physically to further grow.
They know what's going on. That's a great option. If they like what they're doing, some people don't. They want to. This is their opportunity to change their life and really do something completely different. That I understand. But the other option is a franchise, and which is what you guys specialize in, helping people find the right franchise. As you know, I send clients your way when they're not sure, they're looking, they're about this or that. Can really help them to narrow down what would be the best options for them. And sometimes there isn't a good option. I know you tell people if you don't think they're ready.
Usually like, hey, spend 6-8 weeks with us. We're going to know in that period if franchising is the right way. And if not, you can then explore a startup or existing business, but be aware existing business, independent business, there you're going to spend a lot more time sifting through kind of gray, like illegal businesses that are paying employees cash or or
Yes.
contractors when they should be employees. So
Yes. All those
you,
issues in due diligence. Sure.
yeah,
Look, people, if you're thinking about a franchise, if you think a franchise could work for you for E2 visa purposes coming from Canada, it's just a great option. It's just a question of whether you find one that you like, love, and want to work in, right? There are all kinds of franchises. Now I'm going to sell the franchise option because I really think for E2 visa purposes, if somebody wanted a clear shot on goal, really wanted to increase their likelihood of success, um, franchise option is the way to go.
and at any
But
given point in this, just in the state of Florida, there's hundreds of franchise resales. So we generally say if you have over 200K, we can explore businesses that already have cash flow. That's usually 3 times what the owner is making. It could be more, it could be less. But if you want to come into the business that's already making money and you have 200, 250, 300K, just in the state of Florida, we have access to 400 plus franchise resales and also ones that aren't available through business brokers and are just more held with the franchisor and existing franchisees before being listed. So we have a great network of business brokers as well as franchisors that can give us early access to the
yep.
resales.
So yeah, I think there's a phenomenal option for people. I would say that don't my recommendation to my clients is don't choose a franchise unless you like it and you want to work there,
Yeah,
because not only you have to make it work when you come here. This visa requires that you direct and develop the business over time and grow it. So you kind of have to like it.
definitely.
Uh,
You only have one
and
life.
yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of ways to make money. So
Yeah, that's right. No. Yeah, so those are the options. Those are the big two, in my opinion. If you could, lots of my clients do something else that's perfectly fine, something totally different, whatever. This is an opportunity for certain people, if they have the money, to totally change their life, invest in a different type of business in a different country, perfectly fine. But the two best options are if you know what you're doing from another business you've done in Canada in this case, or a franchise.
any pending items or thoughts before we field some of the questions that are coming in?
Hmm. I would just say this. You want to have a good team. I'm a lawyer. I immigration lawyer, do some other things, trademarks business. But you want to find a lawyer who you get along with, who you like, who can tell your story. And I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch, but the thing is about me that makes me a little different is, I'm good at telling stories. I've written a few best-selling books, and I love, of course, I love helping people in this way. But I'm also unabashedly patriotic. I love my country. I can see problems, but I love it. And so to have the opportunity to be sort of the concierge, to guide people in and to see them go crazy, start their business and hire people and be happy, it's just so heartwarming. And the American dream is alive. One of the great things about this country, with all its problems, is that there still is tremendous upward mobility
Oh
here.
yeah.
If you choose, if you choose the right business and you put the effort in, you play by the rules. Look at Patrick's company. Look at what you've done with Visa Franchise. There's tremendous opportunity here. So
I
anyway,
usually
that's
say
what
5 years. It generally takes 5 years.
yeah.
We
I
have
think some of these,
numerous clients that pass $1 million in revenue in just 2 years, operating their E2 visa business. But I usually set the expectation like you can really make a jump up in terms of your socioeconomic status. And as little as 5 years, where in Europe it might be 20 years, 30 years. In
yeah,
Canada, I don't know, maybe 10 years.
quick story on that. Hold on one second. A friend of mine went to a sort of a pre-birthday party recently. He's from the UK, and he said that he's done very well. He came here with, he had started a business over here, but he came to the States and he's done phenomenally well. But he said one of the differences, I don't know how true it is, now compared to when he first came in. But he said over there in England, if someone drives by in a really beautiful car, let's say a Lamborghini, whatever, people go, "Ugh, look at that bastard."
Yeah. What did he
That lucky
take to
bastard.
get that?
Whereas here, it tends to be, "Oh, look at that. I want one. I want one. I want to get one of those."
Yeah.
Because people think it's,
What did he do to get there? I'd like
yeah,
to
yeah, that's
know.
right. They start looking at it, but I can do
Curiosity.
that. I can do that. And I think that that kind of optimism, I have it personally, but I think, and I guess people like yourself with an entrepreneurial attitude, we have it. And I think it's in some ways it's defines America still is that attitude that we can do that. Put enough effort in. Maybe it takes a little time. The one exception I'd make to what you said earlier about the 5 years
Yeah.
to really change your level is some of these uh, entrepreneurs in the online world, digital world. I've seen things happen very quickly if they get into the right niche at the right time. It can be a year, and things just all of a
That's
sudden
true.
they're at another level. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some industries that like really can have exponential growth. And we've had some mutual clients where at times that online business, like it's better or like a high risk business, like it's better to have outside the E2 structure or maybe as part of a portfolio structure because it either does really well and you sell it or it doesn't do well and it closes. So it's usually binary. And we want a business that's going to be around for a while for your E2. And then if you decide to switch over to a green card after liking it a year, you're not having to, go back and forth on a bunch of different
That's an
businesses and be
excellent
subject
point.
to.
That's an excellent point. I think for those who may not get it totally with this E2 visa, you got to make the investment, get your visa, get started. But you also have to have a business that continues to operate and is more or less successful. So if you
Yeah.
want to renew it, these are renewable in Canada every 5 years, potentially for life. But if a high risk digital business and it goes under or whatever, what then? Your
Yeah.
whole your E2 is based on that business. You just can't go under and start. I mean, it's a problem. So yeah, you need to be careful in that regard. I think that's important. One thing that I can't do, Patrick is more helpful in this regard than I am, I think. But I can't help you choose the right business. I mean, that's not my job. I can't tell you what to do. I can say what I've seen, but ultimately, you got to choose wisely in terms of the business. You want to choose something that is highly likely to succeed over time, I think.
And that kind of feeds into the first question from Lucas, which industries or business types are recommended for E2 visa for Canadians? Kind of to Joe's point, if you have deep industry experience, ideally you're bringing that into your own startup or franchise. And if you come from the home service space in
Yes.
Canada, hopefully we do something that's home service related in the United States. If you have a healthcare background, maybe we go into medical staffing or non-medical home care staffing. So which industry, yeah, there can be a shift in what you do, but ideally you stick to at least the same functional type of role that you had success doing sales and it's a business opportunity that sales is really important. And if not, both the industry and the functional role and play to your strengths.
I agree with that. I think that if I had to add a third type of business that is great for E2, besides the franchise and besides what you did before, I'd say something service related, where maybe you're doing a job that Americans would prefer not to do themselves.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
mean crops in the field. I mean, I'm not saying
No,
picking crops. I'm saying,
like junk
maybe cleaning.
removal. We've
Yeah,
had
right.
tons of clients do junk removal. 1-800 got junk. The average sales are like 2.4 million, I believe.
Yeah,
Canadian franchisor that has a lot more franchises now in the United States than up in Canada.
great idea. Great suggestion. Yeah.
And it's junk removal. The owners don't want to do it. The customers don't want to do it. So the landlords, the tenants, it's a great niche to be in. Kind of an unsexy business that has very high revenue and a pretty good profit margin.
Cleaning, cooking, remodeling, all these things that
Yeah.
that some of us would rather not do ourselves and are happy to pay someone to do for us because it makes life easier. Yeah,
we've had clients, some of those businesses within 2 years, they're hitting $1 million of revenue. And
There you go.
oftentimes the profit margins are like in the 15 to 25% range. Depending on how many hours you work, it could be more, it could be less than that even.
Yeah.
And then again, from Avi, happy birthday, Joe. Appreciate
Yeah.
that,
Thank you.
Avi.
Thank you.
And then we have from Riley, are there business size limitations for E2 Visa residency?
Business size. Oh, that gets to, we haven't talked about this, but okay. The E2 visa requires that your business be uh, successful enough so that it's just not supporting you and your family. They say not marginal. They call it marginal, which means like too small. So it can't be too small in the sense that it's just enough to get by. So you got to choose wisely in that regard. So it's a very good question. It has to be something that over the next 5 years, it's likely to grow and you're going to be able to hire more people. So that's, yeah, you don't want to choose something that really is very limited in terms of how it can grow. Yeah, does that make sense, Patrick?
Yeah, no, it's well said. And then from Trumplay David, if you have your business in Canada, can you bring it to the US?
Uh, can you bring it? Well, you can bring certain assets. If you've paid for certain assets, let's see, heavy equipment, and you want to bring it here, and you're then going to use it in your U.S. business, you can get credit for that. But we have to look at the depreciation, right? If it's been used over a period of time, what's it really worth? But if it's worth something, maybe we get an accountant involved to prove up that it's worth something, and now it's being used in your U.S. business, a vehicle even that you were using up there, and now you're here. Yeah, but the whole business, I'm not sure if can you bring it?
Maybe also Tremblay's. I don't know if he's getting at, like, basically you have a business in Canada and you want to open up an affiliate office in
Yes,
the US.
the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And I have clients doing that right now, very successful in Canada, just basically setting up an affiliate here. And then they start investing in that, making expenditures from that. And yes, absolutely.
And then from Thomas Jabison, what's the typical processing time for E2 visa applications for Canadians?
It's pretty darn good. I mean, what? It's like, it's hard to say because, we can't, we don't know what's going to happen exactly with these consular officials, but I don't know, more or less what, 4 months, something like that.
Yeah, we've been seeing people booked out like 3-4 months, but then they check daily and they get an interview earlier so they can move in a
That's
month.
that's the hack. The hack into
Yeah.
the system is they give you an appointment date 4 months out, but then you keep going in and somebody drops out and you're looking and you get right
Yeah.
into their appointment. So it really, Canada is one of the reasons I wanted to do this is Canada is great in that regard. Some of these other countries, you're waiting forever to get that appointment. It can really be a drag, but Canada, it's very efficient. And they're used to seeing these applications. I think they're very good in terms of overall their skill set. And you want that. You want somebody who's good at looking at this, has seen them before, and is going to give you a fair shot. I think they do that.
Joe, imagine, and I'm sure you've already seen this with your Canadian clients. A Canadian family moves to the United States, they start a successful business, and they want to stay. What are their options for green cards? What are some of the most popular options?
If the business does well over time, I like the EB2 national interest waiver option.
Yeah, it's a great
Basically saying,
category.
look, I came in, I started a business, I'm hiring all these people, I'm going gangbusters here. This is good for America, especially in this industry. And then you move to what's called the EB2 national interest waiver, where you basically self-petition for a green card. Okay, you don't need anything else. You have to make the argument that it really isn't a national interest in the United States to let you have a green card, but I like that the best. Some invest so much money in their business that they can go from an E2 visa, which typically it's around 100,000 for a minimum investment. I know that
Yeah.
some go 80 to
Well,
100.
but
I like
ideally
100
100K or more. Yeah.
more or less. But some really go crazy, invest in their business, and they can get up to 800,000 or $1 million, and then go to an EB5, which is a green card investor visa. And then lastly, I would say sometimes the spouse of the E2 visa applicant who gets work authorization and can work for whomever he or she wants to in the United States, which is great. They have a lot of
Yeah.
freedom. They may go somewhere and get an option for a green card, and then the E2 visa applicant comes in as a derivative on that. Those are the three best options, I think.
Well said. Joe, any concluding thoughts? What Canadians might want to think about before hunkering down for the winter?
Well, look, if you're a Canadian and you're looking at the United States as an option, you're really thinking about moving here and working here. This is, I think, arguably the best visa for you in most cases. I mean, if you're really wealthy, you want to go for the EB-5, that's great. If you see some other options, fine. But this is a great visa if you're looking for a way to move here and set yourself up and pursue the American dream. Patrick and myself and others here in Miami Beach are of all places, are ready to help you. And you don't have to put your business here in Miami Beach or even Florida. You can do this anywhere in the United States. But Florida is a great spot. You should know that. By the way, there's a lot of Canadians here.
Oh, yeah.
People are surprised how many Canadians are in Florida. A lot.
And I kind of like what I saw the trend. Many Canadians were coming down just for the winter months, but now they're based here 9 months out of the year, and they go back to Canada during the school holidays. So they're
Right.
able to get the best weather in Canada and leave Florida for the summer and spend like 9
Oh,
months
yes,
here.
because with E2 visa, you can go back and forth.
Yeah.
And, but even with immigration, people moving here permanently, green card people, citizens. I researched this recently, and Canadians are way up there into Florida in particular. It's like in the top 10, there's like Nicaraguans, Hondurans, and then Canadians. And then that's like number
Interesting.
8. And then you move
Huh.
down, Cubans would be the number 1. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. And we're here. I would say it's a great place, Florida in particular, the free state of Florida. Especially if you're feeling a little cramped, if feeling your circle of liberty is shrinking a little bit too much in Canada, hopefully that won't happen again. But if it does, come on down here and live freely.
And Joe, what's the best way for someone to get in contact with you to discuss what their potential immigration plans could be?
I would say, my website would probably be the easiest way. It's bovinolawgroup.com. If they want to reach me individually, I've got Joe Bovino at .me, joebovino.me or bovinolawgroup.com.
Perfect. So we put up bovinolawgroup.com on the screen. We'll also include it in the comments. And then appreciate you leaving your contact information as well. Joe, thanks again for joining, and hopefully we can work on more Canadian cases together.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's great to see you. You guys, Patrick and his company, are great. Note that don't hesitate to utilize their services. So thanks, Patrick.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Cheers.
Cheers.